Let me explain you why I lost millions but found myself. This account is a raw account, okay? And before I go into tell you how I lost millions and that I believe it was the best thing that could ever happen to me, I would like to say thank you because it's episode two. If you haven't watched episode one, don't do it because there is no need to. Then this channel is a raw channel. For me, it's an outlet because I do a personal brand since almost 1 year, and everything we do online is still true and authentic, but most of it is kind of scripted. It's not the real depth that I would love to share. And by the way, not even my team knows that I created this channel, okay? So my highlight is I created this channel just because I felt like it. I was sitting in the studio at the evening and I felt like, man, I want to use social media the way I think it's the right thing to do. And don't get me wrong, I like my team, I love my team, I love what they do. But I felt like there's more. There's more to share, and I want my story to told the right way, and that's why I started this channel. Highlight last week was I discovered that on my last video, someone with the name Nathan, if you see that, nice to see you, brother, commented on my video. And I tell you something, isn't it crazy? I run an Instagram channel with, I don't know, 16,000 followers. Sounds a lot, it is not a lot. Most of them came from India when I did a collab with an Indian entrepreneur. So it's not that I have a hard gained community. We are not there yet, and I don't want to get credits for something that is at in my opinion, not at that level right now, even though I value all of the followers, right? But why was I more satisfied from the comment from Nathan than from all the comments on Instagram? And I guess it's because I felt like I got seen the first time for who I really am. And this leads me straight to the point of why was losing millions one of the best thing that could happen to me? And I tell you something. I started in business very early with the 16. My father told me that if I do any kind of business, I have to do it the legit way, create a company, write invoices, nothing like via cash or what you call it in German, schwarz, right? He said to me, you don't do that, do it the right way from the beginning. So I did it. So I created my first company, so to say, with 16. And from there, I went into a full-time job for a few years, and then I went straight into the entrepreneur life till today. And this account is for me super important because I strongly believe, and this is crazy. I love this feeling. Think about that. Maybe sometimes you know that when you start something, it's going to change your life. You don't know how and you don't know why, but deep inside you feel this is going to change your life for whatever reason. And I know that these videos will have the same effect on my life. And again, for me, most important is that at one day, I don't know how long I'm going to be alive, but I want to share as much as possible of my story so that if my kids want to see it one day, they can do it. They will find it on an account like this, an account that was not made to be a somewhat way to sell something. By the way, I don't sell anything online to convert people into buyers. That's not the case right now. And the reason I started the personal brand is because back then I literally thought it's the biggest challenge that I could take. And it was the same feeling of, hey, if I do that, it's going to change my life in a way that I never could imagine. And it's the truth. It is the truth. The biggest growth, what I would say, is happened this year. And I got to meet so many interesting people. And by today or by now, almost all the people I met were fantastic people. Some of them I call friends, some of them I actually work with. But more important, I realized even more that, again, all of us individuals, all of us humans are on a journey. We are maybe different from a surface level, but deep inside our heart and our mind, we struggle the same war every day. Beauty is beauty, pain is pain, ambition is ambition. It is for every one of us the same, even though it shows up in different ways, but it is all about the circumstances. If you build a small business and you struggle, the struggle feels the same as if you build a big business and you're, again, feeling the feeling of struggle. And I believe this is because you get used to it. The only difference is if you end up in a situation quickly and your mind had no chance to adjust to the circumstances. So let's just say you win the lottery and all of a sudden you're a millionaire. Or if you, from one day or the other, skyrocket online and now you're an influencer and you have to deal with that. I think this is challenging. And this feeling of stress is, again, different. But the more time you have to get familiar with the situation, the more it feels like everything before. Isn't it true? Think about your life. You don't really feel different than you felt before. Even me, if I think about the tough times in my life, isn't it crazy that most of the, I would say, toughest times or challenging times in my life, I barely can remember them. I, to some extent, know the deeper feeling, 100%. But it's not that it's omnipresent every day. No, it's the daily struggle, the daily grind, maybe some past events or like some concerns about the future. But in the end, we don't really think about the past in the sense of every day, day in and day out. Maybe if you regret something, that's different. But we are speaking from a position of, let's assume you watching right now are about to achieve or to accomplish anything, whatever it's in your mind, knowing that most probably you're going to achieve it, but even though ending up with the same feeling of mundane numbness after you achieve it. So you could argue that life is about to find the next thing and the next thing and the next thing that keeps you going. Or like a philosopher said, find something that you love and let it kill you. And at the end of the day, I really spend a lot of time to think about the deeper layer of life. And I believe being successful is important because at the end of the day, success is an amplifier. And not because money is an amplifier. It's not really that. It is if you have endless freedom and unlimited resources, how are you going to use it? And this is what people mean by money as an amplifier. It just shows the person's level of willpower, dedication, self-control, self-discipline, and at the end, self-mastery. Because this is what I believe is life is about. Life is about self-mastery. And whatever you want to accomplish, it is till today insane for me that the mind is literally in control to change everything ASAP. The biggest difference or the biggest challenge in life is to find the deeper root cause of something or to find the right access to your information, to the deeper information inside of your mind. And I give an example. Let's give it a try. I show you what I mean. I call it cognitive engineering, okay? And I do believe that all of us do somehow know the answer to our struggle, okay? And I can prove that. I can literally prove that. It is all about the pattern that you use to access those informations. And the easiest way to do that is by questions. But most people tend to use the wrong questions, okay? I give an example. Whatever you're facing right now, whatever the challenge is, most people ask like, "Oh, what can you do about it?" Or, "Oh my God, what should I do?" Like those questions are so common, but they don't help you at all. They don't bring you really to a point where you feel in control about the change that you need so desperately. But if you frame it a little bit different and you allow your mind to go into several options, things gonna change. So hear me out. Think about a problem that you have right now, whatever it is, money, relationship, doesn't matter. Most people would ask you like, okay, what could you do? What is the solution for it? And that's and always was for me an inefficient question. So I would ask you, I learned in business that every problem could be solved with three options in place. It is the 70% option, like 70% likeliness that it works. Then there is the 20% option with a likeliness of 20% that it works, and the 10%. And if I ask you now, think about your problem, tell me the solution that you have in mind, where you feel like from every opportunity on the table, to an extent of 70%, this one's probably going to fix my problem. And once you did that, I would say, cool, now we know that. Tell me another option, another one that you feel like it's not really realistic that it's going to solve your problem, but it could. But the likeliness of that this is going to happen is very rare. And once you do that, you start to think about it in a different way. And now you think about the same problem in a different way because somehow you already answered it, but now you still think about it, but way easier because you know, okay, everything that's related to the 70%, I already thought it through. Now there's 20% left, and we do the same again for the next step. Once we find a 20% solution, I'm very sorry. We coming to the sweet spot, the last 10%. And why is that important? Because what you just did is you trained your mind to box informations and to rate them, almost prioritize them with by a tier list. And what you do is you take a segment of your thought process and you box it here. Then you take the next one, you box it here. It's almost like if you have a Word document and you erase pages by pages by pages, and there's only a little bit left. So here we are with the last 10%. And I want you to think very cautious about what solution could fix your problem, even though the likeliness of this is going to happen is 10 or less percentage. But you only have one try. You can't come up with two options, three options. No, you have to tell one. Only one. And one more mind trick. You already said two options that could solve your problem. The last one that you're going to tell, think about it this way, that one of those, by a random scenario, is the one you have to go to work on. You don't know which one, maybe the 70%, maybe the 20%, maybe the 10%. So better be sure that the 10% scenario is a scenario that you could control and that you could use to fix your problem. In an easy way, what you do is you take responsibility for the last piece of information that could maybe fix your problem. You already thought about the first step to solve it, maybe with a 70% likeliness. It's the easiest way. If you have a problem with money, the easiest way to think about it is, okay, maybe someone else could loan me money. Or maybe I make this big contract and somehow I get money fast. Then a 20% solution for it is trying to upsell one of your existing clients, trying to apply for a loan somewhere else outside of your circle. It makes it more difficult. Likeliness that's going to happen is decreasing, probably because your credit rate is also bad. So you need to be more creative, but not delusional. And then there is a 10% chance. And you know, the 10% chance that it works for me is like, okay, I thought about getting a loan, doesn't work. I thought about asking other people or trying to sell something in my already existing circle of clients, didn't work. Here's the magic, and this is what I always do. There is this 10% solution. And I think, okay, if the 70% solution is not working and the 20% solution isn't working as well, let's go for the 10%. And due to the fact that I know I have maybe to fulfill the 10% and work on it, it needs to be something that's realistic. So I wouldn't say win in the lottery. That's not helpful. No, I always operate under the realm of saying, like, okay, I do obviously have a big problem. This is going to cause a lot of trouble in my life. And what I do is I take the reality where I assume that the 70 and 20% solution is not going to work. That means I'm going to have a 90% fuck up if it's not going to work out. And I use the 10% solution to already anticipate the worst case scenario of both of them and try to build and create something that A, supports the downfall of my problem, like in a way it's going to happen, I can't do anything about it, but it already bridges me to another reality or world or solution. But also, if it works out faster than I expect it to be, then it fixed my problem on the other side too. And just by doing that, you do the most important thing whenever you face a problem, and this is you build a bridge between your worst problem and to somehow a point in the future that allows you to still be yourself. In the beginning, I said I lost millions, but I found myself. This is what happened to me because I was in a serious point of, I would call it like a deep struggle because I did business for 10 years, 9 years, whatever. I was successful to a certain extent. Obviously, I always think I could have been more successful. On the other hand, I believe it would be asinine not to say that I was and I am successful. But it's relative, right? And at one point, when one very important key person of my business left, and I at the end was facing like the administrational effort of taking care of 17 companies where I was a CEO at that time, even though only a few of them had an active day-to-day business, you still have the responsibility in place to take care of all the companies. It made me realize that I wasn't as much a business person that I thought I am. And I learned that day that never ever in my life I want to be at a point where one outcome is going to define who I am. Because if you avoid the truth for so long, that's going to create a big problem in your life, then chances are very high that it's going to catch you. And this is why I love the 70-20-10% rule. And I focused back then on the biggest challenge ever. And I thought, okay, life is going to be difficult anyways. I'm going to struggle with all the administration stuff, filings of taxes, finance, people, resources, day-to-day business. It was a full-time multi-problem. I thought, okay, what was the one thing that I always was scared about? And that is even a bigger problem for me than fixing what I have to fix on the other side. And you see it in front of you. It's doing social media. It's doing content. Because I said it in the other video too, I was afraid to speak in front of a camera, but I was also afraid to speak English because my English was not that good. And I want to express myself in a very good way because I felt many times in my life very lost when I tried to argue my standpoint in a different language, but I couldn't do it, knowing that I would be able to, or if I could just speak my native language, I could explain what my statement is about very well. And I decided I go and take this as the 10% rule because there was a point in my life a few years ago where I thought, man, this could go south. This could be a real problem. But I know, or I knew back then that I am built for more because I do have kids. And if you are in a situation that you have kids around you, or maybe your brothers, sisters, whatever, or just whoever is like close to you has kids, you just want to support them the best way you can. Not only by action, not by money, but by leading by example. And I know that their life will be full of difficult problems. Life will be full of struggle and stuff that's going to happen where they can't do anything about it except to frame it the most positive way. So I decided when my back was against the wall to start a personal brand, which was very interesting because for some reason I knew I was successful. So it was easy to talk about my previous success. But on the other hand, I felt like, ha, I would literally go through this shit right now. What should I tell? Like, isn't it crazy to be online talking about business, knowing that you maybe messed everything up just by purely not being honest to yourself about your blind spots? So I decided I make that my story. I just shared. And I did it since then. I think online, especially social media, is an illusion, especially most of the business people, not all of them, most of them, do tell a story that's A, copied from someone else, B, not really true, and C, it is a lot of addition, like scripted stuff, like reality somehow distilled into a script that performs well. But based on experience and based from my past, like right now, I don't use any script. It's purely the thing that I experience in my life. I strongly believe that you can't fake your way to the top because there is no top. If you take being at the top very critical under the lens of what does it mean, you could either say, okay, the person who has most followers is on top, which makes no sense because I don't know. I think numbers don't really matter that much. Or the person with the biggest credibility and authority. But even then, how do you measure that? Because most of the time you have like the hero person on top, like the business guru, whatever, and you have people who follow this person who want to be like the person on top, but they lack knowledge to be there. And if you lack the knowledge to be on top, then you lack the knowledge to know if it's legit or not. True, too. And therefore, it is a paradox. There is no top. So I realized that being at the top means that you live fully aligned to yourself and that people start to see you for who you truly are. And they accept you to a certain extent for who you really are. And that you see that you can change other people's life just by the way you are. And welcome. That's what we do here right now. And even though it was never about money in my life, I strongly believe that making money is important because it provides flexibility. It creates freedom. And it is a direct way to see if what you are doing is successful in a way that helps you and others. Because there's no doubt that if you have resources, it is way easier to help others and to help yourself. And on the other hand, sometimes I think it's good to almost go bankrupt because it teaches you that life isn't about numbers. It's about this. And if you get to the point where you realize that everything that you believe and everything that happens in your life is somehow just the first step of the mind presenting you a story, waiting for you to wrap it into something with meaning, so that you then in the future can act based on the scenario, either from a standpoint of shame or from a standpoint of an energy resource. It makes sense to always try hard to find the most positive aspect about something that happened in your life, even though it was a really bad thing that happened. And the good thing is, if you caused it by yourself, if you mess it up by yourself, Merry Christmas, great job. It's good because you can learn. But it makes no sense to idle around for days, weeks, or months, licking your wounds and doing nothing about it. And I know that, oh my God, I get like, this is crazy. The last video I had it too. Like, I got happy just by me like talking about it because you know what? In this video, at least 3 times, the idea sneaked into my mind that I thought, oh my God, what if someone watches this and I was not really clear about this, or did I mention this? Do we have this? Da, da, da. Because I'm so used to it from the other YouTube videos. But knowing that this is just purely the raw format, it makes me being free, right? And again, if you made it so far, if you made it this far in this video, I tell you something, leave a comment. And if you are in business, I'm going to offer you a free session where I help you to do a founder's deep dive. I love to do that. It's one of the things that I enjoy most. It's to identify not your next step, but your right next step, and to find a 10x solution to your problem. And I promise you something here right now in the video. Whoever comments under this video, and this is only valid for the next month, because I strongly believe that this account in the future will be discovered by people, and then I can't keep this promise anymore. But if you comment under this video in the next 30 days, I make sure that I give you a free session and I will never ever charge you for that. I just want to help you. I just want to provide value to other people's life. And that's one way to do it. So, bye bye.